So I grew up in Sandy Springs, which in Atlanta, on the north side of town, we were not a very diverse community. And it was not until actually I went away to college that I began to realize the diversity. A lot of my friends were going to Vietnam. My dad thought that being in a military school would give me an opportunity through the ROTC program, that if I did wind up being drafted, that it would put me in a position with leadership in the United States services. While I was at Gordon Military College, I was the lottery was in effect. I went through 1 year of lottery. I was active. I had an active number for the draft. I missed the draft and went on to University of Georgia, and I left the ROTC program behind. I majored in psychology. I got to University of Georgia. I was always interested in behavior, human behavior, communicating with people, and so it was kind of a natural for me to look to study psychology and the understanding of human behavior. But probably the most important overriding thing that I learned, skill set, was about communication, being a good communicator, and how you take leadership skills and communicate with those. I managed Lowe's stores in Atlanta in 1972. When I went to work for Lowe's, there were 3 Lowe's stores, one in College Park, one in Smyrna, and one in Norcross. Worked for Lowe's for 14 years. It was a great experience, taught me, allowed me to use my leadership skills, and taught me really, kind of began a trajectory of being a builder, understanding builders, and what it was like to build organizations. So I actually have always had this entrepreneurial spirit, and so I had a partner. We started a building supply, and then for the next many years, I was in the building supply and building business. In 1997, we were transitioning from South Florida after Hurricane Andrew, and I came here to help a friend of mine that owned a building supply, Acme Building Supply here, and he asked me to come and help him. And while I was up 1 week working, I found the old McMillan house where we live today, and it was that old historic home, and the charm of that home and the challenge of the renovation that brought us here to Acworth, Georgia. I saw this home. I saw the potential. I was already helping Lloyd at Acme Building Supply and his son Denny, and we bought the home and began to restore it. I really thought that we would buy the home, restore it, sell it, and that we might not be here but for a year and a half. We never thought that we would, because at the time, the population of Acworth in 1997 was only about 10,000 people. There was nobody here. There was no businesses. We had about maybe 400 businesses. There was nothing here. So we really didn't think we were going to be here very long. And we began to meet people, and we began to realize there's a real charm to this town, kind of an undiscovered charm, if you would. And there's a point at which, in my mind, I can remember I was trying to buy another piece of property here. I was having trouble with the city leadership changing the zoning on a piece of property. And it was through this process which was a very difficult process, that I realized it kind of dawned on me that if our property was ever going to be worth anything, we had to have other businesses that wanted to invest. And we as a government had to make it easy and inviting for businesses to come and invest. That really put me on a trajectory of, at the time there was an election coming up, and I can remember going home one day and talking to Carolyn, and I said, I'm just not sure that we've made a very good decision investing in this community because we can't get the zoning and things we need a different kind of culture here. And she said, well, you're the one that's always said, rather than being part of the problem and complaining, why don't you go do something about it? So I came on city council for 2 years. We still had a communication problem within the city between our city elected team and city council, and so then that's when I decided to run for mayor. So I was on city council for 2 years. I decided to run for mayor, and at the time, then the sitting mayor decided she wasn't going to run, and so I was elected. At that point with no opposition. I've served 5 terms since then with no opposition. As the personalities changed on the city council, they were replaced with people that understood the vision of building great quality of life. We've got 2 lakes and 4 beaches. We have an extraordinary trail system and park system that has 140 acres of dedicated green space in our downtown business district. There's not another city in Georgia that has that. So that one component, our Parks and Recreation Department with the director James Albright that prioritizes that, then has allowed our city council to invest SPLOST dollars and make this investment in this program. That's one example. And I could go through every department. Every single department has created a culture in their department that has extraordinary people delivering extraordinary services. From our power department, our public works department, our finance department. I mean, without exception, we have done a fabulous job because of the people that we've put in place. I think our overall preservation of our community we've had all this growth, quality growth, but we've preserved something really important. We've preserved our hometown feeling, that hometown spirit, where people call the police chief by his first name, and we're still that loving, caring community that people that grew up here remember as a child. And I think if you ask anybody, we have a lot of folks right in our downtown area that have grown up here. And I think if you ask them about where we are today, they'll say that we've worked hard to make sure that we preserve that hometown spirit.